So it's a major, major phenomenon. And some of these people who are producing the opinions have recognised there's a big global audience for their advice, in quotes. I've provided only a few examples just to give a sense of this particular aspect in relation to cyber-Islamic environments. And I've chosen them because some of them are popular, they're sustainable as well, and we'll see how some of the pages have developed and grown over the years. So, here's a good example. Some of you might have seen some of these programs on TV, on satellite TV. I'm a Khalid, who coincidentally is a graduate of my university, but that's just a footnote. But he's been highly successful in relation to promoting materials online in a variety of languages. And this is one example of a very popular portal in which advice, either in the form of questions and answers or through the presentation of sermons and other materials, is presented online on a regular weekly basis. The good thing about Omar Khalid is he is very approachable. He comes across as being very approachable. He speaks the language of the street, so he's very accessible. Unlike some scholars who might be more arcane, he's more streetwise and comes across as such, as being more of a man of the people. And that's presented within his website as well. And there's a lot of money behind him because he's producing material in a variety of languages, including through YouTube channels as well. There are many other examples of scholars who present their content online through sermons, through the utilisation of YouTube or similar services. This is Mustafa Hosni and Moiz Masood, just as a couple of examples. But Islam Online is probably one that people would always think about in relation to Islam and religious authority. I noticed on your list that you had John Anderson here some time back. I don't know if he talked about Islam Online, he might have done. But how many people here have looked at Islam Online, the old version? Anybody seen it? Right. But it was one of the key players. It was a significant channel for religious authority issues. And it pioneered ideas about counselling, question and answer resources and databases. And it was organised under the authority of Yusuf al-Qaradawi. It opened in 1997. Qaradawi also had his Qaradawi.net as well, that's the snapshot of Qaradawi.net. He actually left in 2010. There was also an industrial dispute in the same year, and many of the staff left to form the very similar OnIslam.net, which is doing a similar kind of thing, just in terms of examples of the materials that appear. This is, maybe it's not a question and answer, but it's Qaradawi condemning the 9/11 attacks a couple of days later, using that website to do so. Islam Online in the 2000s acted as a hub for information for religious authority and questions and answers. This would be typical, the setup of a cyber counsellor page, where people would send in questions that were extremely sensitive, and over time they had to bring in professional counsellors because the nature of the material that was presented was so sensitive. Things to do with sex and sexuality, family relations, sexual abuse, sexuality, and so forth. These are questions that wouldn't necessarily be asked within a local or traditional context, but people felt comfortable to ask those questions online. Each of these questions would be sent to a particular scholar or authority, and they would answer it in some detail, really. What's interesting too about some of these pages in terms of the idea of archiving, if anybody is studying this particular subject, is that a lot of these pages have actually disappeared over time. But that would be the general format, and it would be in the guise of a so-called fatwa, or religious opinion, and the information would be listed there. There are many of these questions, and in fact, one could do a whole series of dissertations on them, as some people have done. So I'm not going to go through all the questions now, just to show you that this is the kind of format, and the questions kept coming for many years. The interface was searchable too, so people who were accessing the site, they could go to the database and look up old questions. And these became a very valuable resource to get an understanding of ideas about contemporary Islam and contemporary issues. Although many of the pages have now disappeared since the site closed down within the changes that took place. Islam Online today doesn't look the same, although somebody took the URL and they are putting content that looks like fatwas onto the site. It doesn't have the same dynamic as the previous pages, but there are still questions appearing on a variety of sites. On Islam is the new pages, or new set of pages, where these counselling resources are now available, and they continue to have Ask the Scholar, so they're looking at things such as Hadith, Quran, Sharia, financial issues. All of these elements are searchable as well. Still talking about ideas about sexuality, which seem to dominate relationships, those sorts of things seem to dominate many of these question forums. Very controversial issues. Here's a question about pornography being asked there. So On Islam continues to ask very controversial types of questions. Some of these are also now being answered by scholars through video. So that's the sort of next stage in relation to the way in which these forums have developed their use, or the use of videos. So this one on sexual intimacy in marriage. Somebody's being brought into a studio to answer that particular question. Other people continue to provide this kind of service too. Islam.com has got a searchable database. Questions here on repentance, punishment of sin, alcohol, differences between Sunni and Shia, all of them being answered by a scholar, as well as very basic things like learning the Quran, how to learn the Quran quickly, how to recite. To show the evolution of one of these pages, Islam Q&A has a long history of presenting information in the format of question and answers. So you can see this is a very basic, early style website. This one's 2002, but I mean that's light years away in relation to internet design and development. But it does feature the opinions of a prominent scholar, Al-Munajid, who's been involved in the material being presented on this. The database is searchable, and we start to see it progressing. This is a screenshot I took in 2009. Looks a bit better than the earlier pages. This whole importance of design and clear interfaces is important too, because you have to find the information that you want on the internet within 3 clicks. Generally, that's the rule for internet developers. Otherwise, you'll go to another site, you'll look somewhere else. That applies whether you're on Amazon or whether you're looking at Islam Q&A. That whole idea of being able to get the material quickly, easily, and with a good degree of searchability. And obviously that question has gone into the people who developed this particular site, Islam Q&A. Just to show you some of the more recent ones. These are lots of questions about the internet. And of course, the questions form a barometer for many of the contemporary issues that are affecting Muslims within the contemporary world today. New issues will quickly be sent to scholars, and often they're quite detailed, and they're on subjects that maybe the scholars have never looked at before. So lots of new ground is being broken through the use of these sites. And of course there's that rapidity as well. People expect to answer very quickly. And when that answer comes out, it's distributed effectively and quickly through social media. It used to be if you wanted to get an answer from a scholar, you'd have to make an appointment. You'd have to go in the diary. You might see this person in 3 months' time. You go along and you petition, and the person would be behind, well, when I observed it, doing my fieldwork, the person would be behind a desk, behind a whole pile of books, and there'd be a lot of pleasantries, and there'd be a question, and you'd think about it for a little while, and he might give you the answer, he might say, come back in a week, and then the whole process would take ages, and by then maybe the immediacy of the question had been lost. Through social media, through the use of the internet, there's that expectation that you'll get a quick answer, or you'll go to somebody else as well. So from those very early designs, and those early interfaces, now we've got the Islam Q&A app. So you've got that rapidity through using online, using the mobile phone to get your answers. And hopefully getting your answer very quickly. Or going to Twitter, putting a question onto Twitter, and hopefully getting an answer back within a few hours, if you're lucky. These are just other examples. Fatwa online, again pretty primitive interfaces, but you'll see that they have developed too. So they're on Twitter as well now, again producing their information from a particular strand of Wahhabi influenced thought. They're using the internet very proactively. I use this example because it's an interesting example of a scholar who perhaps wouldn't have had a high profile. He's outside of the Middle East context. He's based in South Africa, Ibrahim Desai. But through the internet, he's been able to perhaps boost his profile higher than it would have been without the internet, if you see what I mean. He's used the internet as a tool to give himself maybe a higher status within areas of online interpretation. And he and perhaps his office have been incredibly busy. Every day there are new opinions. Every day there are questions coming through. And he or his followers or his support staff have to provide very detailed answers to all of these questions here. So just a snapshot at random. My husband is addicted to internet porn. There's one question. The problems of internet chat. The minimal requirements for marriage on a website. All of these in the range of questions being asked in that particular snapshot. As you see, the interfaces start to improve. So that's going from 2009. And now he's using Twitter as a principal tool to push a lot of these opinions out. The use of Twitter has been incredibly important for many organizations, scholars, and groups. The use of phones too. You can use your mobile phone, you can send a question to Al-Azhar, and there'll be a scholar there who will answer it for a small fee. So phone interfaces have got that two-way element in relation to ideas about religious authority. And they're changing the paradigm. They're changing the old idea that one would have to go to the mosque, go to the scholar. Now you can do all of this online. The Islamic hotline was this pay-for-call service with questions and answers. Some of the more prominent scholars, I'm just running through for time, particularly in Saudi Arabia, some of the highest profile Twitter users are Islamic scholars, like Al-Arif, Saudi Arabian scholar with a following that probably matches Justin Bieber's. Now, I haven't looked at Justin Bieber's Twitter account, but this particular scholar has got 8.38 million followers. So that's quite a high number of followers for a regular stream of tweets. Here's another example. Al-Adar runs the Islam Today website, was a controversial figure in Saudi Arabia, and he's now ranked, well, in 2012 he was ranked the #1 tweeter in Saudi Arabia. This is according to a study from Jordan. And again, a high number of followers, 4.51 million there. Also translating content into English as well, regularly tweeting. We also have other opinions and people putting themselves online. Many organisations and platforms are utilising the internet as an entry point for producing their information. It's the first place that somebody's going to go. They're not going to go to a press office. They're going to go online to look for information. So a variety of scholars will be found online. Very quick snapshot in relation to Sufism here. And you'll see that, and this relates to my chapter, the Naqshbandi Haqqani Sufi order, they're based in northern Cyprus, and they've been highly active online over the past 15 years. So let's have a look at how some of their content has evolved to adapt to new ideas about technology. So we have a very old website there, still photographs and information about the order. Designs start to improve around 2000, 2001. They start to explain ideas about Islam, about their particular interpretation. And over the years, they become more proficient in the way in which social media being used. So we start to see media. Can you imagine a website without media? A website without audio files? It was a big deal when they started putting media files onto these sites, and short video clips. Talks were also added from scholars. Information about individual activities. And then by 2012, the order has got a very high, technically proficient series of pages documenting the every move of its leaders, the every pronouncement. And that might include a discussion over a dinner